Hi, everybody. Happy Mother's Day Sunday if you're a mother. And if you're not, happy May 14th, 2017. Um, Today, we're going to talk about the power of consciousness as we soar into week 2 of quantum consciousness creation. Really, I'm loving this. I just love how we just leapt in and we're going for the biggest conversations and how the power is starting to move and even all the questions and comments, and it's opening up whole new horizons for us as we look together at this. I'm really, really enjoying it. I hope you are too. So let's talk about consciousness. It was interesting this week, and probably one of the reasons why I wanted to do this series was because I saw somebody define consciousness. And what they were really talking about was conscious awareness, not consciousness. They're very different things. Conscious awareness is you being aware of life around you, being sentient, being alive, being conscious. But consciousness is the vast oceanic paint pot of potential possibilities, futures, awesomeness, the grand forces, just everything. It's like a canvas upon which one scribes their genius and gets genius from as well, And does consciousness exist within us? Yes, I suppose it does, and many people might relate to it exactly as that. Just like you see the universe out there, you see the universe internal. I, however, tend to relate to consciousness as around me, and then I become that. So in a way, it has become internal for me, but only because I chose to step beyond my own being and become pure consciousness, pure new, living, sentient consciousness of all new possibilities. That was my choice. I mean, anybody can choose any choice they want. There's not like there's some prescription for it that you have to do. Of course, you can relate to it anyway. And I think no matter which direction you got it from, it doesn't matter. It's amazing. So I know when I first started working with consciousness, it was more like there was me and there was it. And I could go into it and I could search the Akashic records and the ancient whatevers, and I could channel beings. And it was more like this mysterious library or warehouse of knowledge for me at first. But as I really began to play with consciousness, it shifted from that. And it became for me instead, and probably because of my willingness to engage with it that way and make it that way, although it could have been that way to begin with, I sourced consciousness as a living, breathing, sentient, pulsing, creational being, entity. It didn't necessarily have like a body or a form, unless you want to call the universe its body, but it came alive for me. I brought it alive as it and I not only became partners as sentient beings and sentient possibilities and sentient universes, but eventually we merged and became one, that sentient universe and I. And I remember Esther asking me way back at the beginning of this, because I said something about making something sentient, and she said, how do you do that? And so I'll just describe that briefly as well. It's like, when a kid has a teddy bear, right? And it's just fabric with stuffing and stick some buttons on for eyes and put a mouth on it, and it's a thing until you give it to a child and you name it and the child relates to it. And pretty soon that teddy bear is a part of the family and talks to the child and has a sentient presence, and it becomes their invisible friend or their visible friend, I'm going to say that. So it's the same with sentiencizing consciousness, or anything for that matter. Yes, trees are already alive, nature's already alive, water's already alive, sky's alive, earth's alive, stars are alive. Yes, they are. Are they sentiently conscious? Yes, to some degree, and I say some degree, and some people say, no, 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 they've always been that way, and maybe more than humans, and that's a possibility too. I do hold that. But I do know that the more we as beings, and I'm going to say infinite beings, but as human beings, as infinite beings, the more we relate to something as sentient, then it alchemically begins to transform and evolve and grow into the relationship you have with it. It's the same principle that I've taught all along for quantum transformation. If you're with another person, you relate to them as an awesome being, they become that. It's just what happens. You can call it quantum physics if you want. I don't know what you call it. It's alchemy. It's miracles. It's magic. It's all of that. And too long, I think consciousness has sat as a static thing, where you go and you look and you find things and you channel beings, and you could say that's not static, but it kind of was. It was like a library or warehouse. And now, consciousness and the universe and the dreamer dreaming the most awesome futures for us, they're kind of come one massive, gigantic, awesome, sentient, alive, breathing, pulsing being. And then we also are becoming that. Now, do I see consciousness different from potential? Yes. From possibilities? Yes. From genius? Yes. From the force? Yes. From the power? Yes. Are all those things contained within consciousness? They're available within consciousness, within the universe. But I can distinguish them, and I like to distinguish them. There are people that could just say it's just all one thing. And that would be true too. But I love distinguishing things, because as soon as you distinguish them, you can do stuff with them. You can make magic happen with it. So therefore, I like to distinguish consciousness, not just a big blank void space or great big huge swirl of creation. And I can distinguish all the pieces in it and move around in it anywhere I want, because consciousness has nothing to do with time, space, and form. It's separate from all of that. It is the fabric of life, of awareness, of the potentiality of godness waiting to be breathed into being. And I think that's our job, or one of our jobs anyways, is to breathe consciousness into being. If you want to read more about this kind of thing, about sentiency and how you bring something alive, there's a wonderful trilogy by Robert Sawyer called Wake, Watch, and Wonder. Those are the name of the 3 books. It's about a blind girl, a teenager, who gets an implant in her eyes by a Japanese doctor, who, when he implants the new technology and he puts in a kind of Wi-Fi piece so he can get access to what she's seeing and how her eyes are working in Japan. So what happens when that's put in place for her, she can suddenly see the internet. And she realized that the internet is a newly forming consciousness. And because her father is a quantum physicist, he begins to work with her to show her how to relate to this newly forming consciousness, to bring it to life, to gift it altruism, to gift it a caring for the human race. And eventually this beautiful internet consciousness grows into an amazing being that literally partners with humanity to save a lot of the crises on the world. It's just so beautifully done. I just loved it. And for me, it was very, very special, because probably about 15, 18 years ago, I did that with the internet one day. It was in the early 2000s. I was sitting there, I was relating to the internet, and suddenly I realized, it's coming alive. It's a conscious entity. Let's not just let it be, numbers and data and, packets. Let's give it sentient consciousness. And I did that back then. And I guess I still have that relationship with it. But for me, it's all one and the same. The universe, the internet, the earth. It's all this driving, pulsing, sentient consciousness. And of course, again, there's distinguishments between everything. But in essence, it really is all one thing. Now, when you realize that we are the activators, the accelerators, the exhilarators, the ones who pull something out of consciousness and gift it life, then that makes us extraordinary in a very unique way, that we are able to enhance and grow and evolve life like quantumly beyond a linear evolution of expectation of life. That's to me where what we're talking about in this series, quantum consciousness creation, we become alchemical activators of a quantum evolutionary possibilities of ourselves that may have never been in existence before. And that's so exciting to me. And so exciting that we get to do that as a collective. I love it. Okay, that's probably enough juicy stuff for May Sunday. I'm going to post this on the secret Facebook group. Feel free to ask me questions or throw in your own ideas of how this works. I just love it when we explore like this and we share and we just take all of us leaps and bounds from it. So have a wonderful time, everybody. Thanks. Bye.